The Saenger Theater was built in 1927. It was built by the Saenger brothers. They originally were pharmacists out of Shreveport and got involved with movie theaters in Shreveport and decided that, oh, we can make some money out of this. So they built a new theater in Shreveport called the Strand Theater. And through the years, they ended up building 60 Saenger theaters throughout America, Mexico, and South America. And they moved their home offices from Shreveport to New Orleans. And this theater opened in 1927, and it was kind of the grandest of all the Saenger theaters because this was their home. And the chain was sold in about 1930 to the Paramount Movie House, and the Saenger brothers got out of the business. Well, we were devastated by Katrina. Like a lot of venues, especially downtown New Orleans, we have a basement. And actually we have two basements. We have a sub-basement. And in those basements we have our mechanical, electrical, and HVAC systems, which was common for buildings that were constructed back in the early 1900s. So everything of that nature was destroyed because the building itself was under 5 feet of water. You know, that devastation was quite extensive. All of the repair that we had to do was bringing all the mechanical, electrical, and HVAC systems out from the basement, bringing them either up on grade or up on some of our roofs to get them out of future harm's way, if you would. The damage itself to the theater was not only that, but it was also to a lot of the plaster throughout the buildings, because the plaster on the walls and so forth, all the ornate painting, that was damaged by the water getting in, and of course plaster absorbs the moisture, so it was quite extensive. We were lucky. It was like bringing back an icon of New Orleans, if you would. There isn't a person that grew up in New Orleans that doesn't have a memory of the Saenger, whether it was the place where they saw their first concert, their first Broadway play, where they had their first date. Everybody has a memory of the Saenger, and we were quite fortunate to be able to, if you would, resurrect those memories of everyone and bring the Grand Lady back in September of 2013. Obviously, the Broadway series was vacant from New Orleans for 4 or 5 years because there was no place to house the series. We were fortunate enough that we were involved with the city to bring back Mahalia Jackson Theater. So in 2010, we brought the Broadway series back to New Orleans. And it was kind of a temporary home, if you would, at Mahalia. People have grown accustomed to the Saenger being the home of Broadway. And while it was fortunate to be able to have our shows at Mahalia Jackson Theater, we always did long for the day that we could return to the Saenger Theater, and of course we did last year. We work with 3 different organizations, not only ourselves, but New Orleans Theater Association and Broadway Across America. We work with all those entities. We look at what shows are touring, what shows will be coming out each year, what shows are going to route in the South. So it's a combination of what shows are out there, what routes through New Orleans, and what fits best for our season. So it's always a chess match, if you would, trying to figure what pieces go into every season. Well, you have a lot that goes into it, whether it's your advertising. You know, we have sometimes a 8 to 12 week advertising campaign for each show. That's just getting ready for it to get the word out to the public. When you then get into the shows themselves that are coming in here. Some shows have an advanced team that will come in, analyze the building. How are we going to do what? For instance, as we're speaking now, Phantom of the Opera is in here. I can tell you that they had 2 site surveys to come in to figure how everything is going to work in this theater. And when a show comes in town, when the trucks do arrive, each one is different. A Dirty Dancing, if you would, or a Chicago may come in and they can set up in maybe a day and a half. In the case of Phantom of the Opera, it takes 3.5 days for them to come in and set up the shows. Each one is different. A Lion King, as an example, may take 6 days to set up because it's quite extensive. So every show is different. The marketing for each show is also different, and that's what's the fun part about this job, because nothing is the same every day. We are about 80% settled on our shows for the 15-16 season. We're now in the middle of our 14-15, and we do have some shows that we're working on for 16-17 season, but really right now what we're working hardest on is finishing out our current season, which is going extremely well, and then planning for the 15-16 season. We know we are the home of Broadway, no doubt about that, but we want to be everything in the entertainment sector to the local community, whether it's concerts, whether it's stage plays, whether it's private meetings. We try to offer everything we can. Most people would never know, for instance, we have in January, we have a 10-day private meeting of Heineken Corporation. I can imagine you'll have some beer at that. But in addition to that, of course, we do have a lot of concerts, a lot of unique entertainment events. We just had a very unique NPR show here called Water. We had Long Island medium Teresa Caputo, sold out 2 shows, concerts from Dave Matthews to Melissa Etheridge, a lot of different shows like that. So we try to bring in anywhere from 35 to 50 concerts a year to address all of the needs of what people want to see, whether it's country, whether it's pop, whether it's classic rock, whether it's R&B. We try to cover all those areas.